Hello and welcome. Today's the Sunday Festival. We got some great MLB action today. I am very excited to bring it to you live. Let's get to it. We do have the recap from Friday. Remember, we did not do a baseball video yesterday because we did Champions League and NBA Western Conference Finals Game 7. Those were absolutely incredible games yesterday with a penalty kick shootout and just going all the way to the end in Oklahoma City. But the San Antonio Spurs really got it done. So we just briefly bring you through Friday. Freddie Peralta getting 5 strikeouts but not getting through the 5th inning. Mike Trout not getting a hit at all, scoring a run, so he did walk twice. And Jose Ramirez did hit in the game. He went 1 for 4. That was the only free pick that we got, and also really just the only paid pick we got. We'll go through the paid picks as well. A little bit of a rough day on Friday, 1 for 5 in the baseball picks. We're ready for a bounce back day today. But let's go to Freddie Peralta right here. He was a bit iffy against the Marlins. I mean, it was a solid game. This is Friday's game here. The standings is what we have as of yesterday. As of yesterday going into today's games, excuse me. So the New York Mets, they're in last place going into today. Could you imagine $300 million on a payroll just to be in last place here in the last day of May? That's absolutely incredible, especially considering that the Miami Marlins are the team that is above them. Even Washington Nationals have had a very, very rough recent stretch, but they're actually leading the league in runs, and you can see that they're playing very well. So NL East, it's going to turn into something beyond what Atlanta Braves have done there. But you can also see the New York Mets continue to struggle just to gain back some ground. Look at Mike Trout and the Angels. The Angels just do what they usually do. They lose. They're the worst team in the American League, and Tampa Bay Rays just go right through them. Mike Trout didn't really get a hit, but he got his couple walks. He was able to score 1 run. If he was able to score another run, that could have been all the better. For this pick, this prop right here, obviously getting on base is another important part of this prop, but that didn't happen for Mike Trout. The Angels are in last place, and what you can say is the worst division. The Mariners won a couple games this weekend at home, so they're over 500, so at least somebody in this division is over 500, but the Angels are still at the bottom of the barrel. You can see there's only 3.5 games that separate the 4 teams above them. The Mariners all the way through the Astros, and you can see another 3.5 games separates the Astros from the Angels. That is how much the Angels just continue to struggle. Let's get to Cleveland. Jose Ramirez was part of the game against the Red Sox. They did lose 9-1. Jose Ramirez was expected to get a hit, and he did. So that was good for him. The Cleveland Guardians still lead the division, even though they've gone 1-1 in this series against the Red Sox. They did win yesterday's game. Remember, this is Friday's game. But looking at the standings going into today, they are 2 games above the White Sox. The White Sox continue to play very well. The White Sox are continuing to smash expectations. And you got 2 teams above 500 here in a division that, look back earlier this month, maybe even 3 weeks ago, didn't look like it was going anywhere. Looks like Cleveland was going to maybe squeak their way to the win for the division, that the White Sox weren't going to be for real. But it looks like we might actually have a real battle between the Cleveland Guardians and the Chicago White Sox here in the NL Central. And the Twins, they showed some glimpses last week, but the previous week, but last week, not a great week for the Minnesota Twins. And I'm not sure we can really expect that much from Minnesota throughout the season. Let's see who surprises us. Cedric Mullins was on the other side of that Mike Trout game. We had him getting a hit, and he went 0 for 4. So nothing there for our paid pick on Cedric Mullins. You can also see our analysis on there. That is on Winible. And Manny Machado, he's someone that's gotten off to a slow start to the season. Not a great game against Washington. He was expected to go over 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI. You can see that he had a favorable matchup against a not-so-great pitching staff, but it ultimately did not go for the better. Manny Machado might just be getting a little bit old and slowing down. But we'll see. We'll see how June and July plays out for these trends that we've all discussed. but we are affiliated with Betr. Remember, you still get 2 sweat-free tokens with the code ROCKETUPSB. That link is in the description. You can also find our stand store. That is a link to our entire slew of socials. We're looking for a code on Picket. That is also going to be coming up. Expect an announcement on that sometime by next Sunday. That being said, let's get to the good action. The free picks for today. We got 2 of them. We do have a bonus. Shohei Ohtani going over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI does get you, alongside Zebby Matthews going over 5.5 strikeouts. That does get you 2.8 times your bets. That is going to be our 2 free picks for today. We do have a bonus pick for it as well. Let's get to it. Shohei Ohtani over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. That's been a thing for him in 8 of his last 10 games. He's on an absolute tear. He's looking a lot more like himself after a very rough 5-week stretch between 2nd week of April and the 2nd going into the 3rd week of May. But these last 2 to 2.5 weeks, he's absolutely hitting like himself. He's looking like he's very much going to win a 4th consecutive MVP. And there we got Shohei Ohtani. Again, he's done it in 14 of his last 20 games. And then you can see 4 of his last 11, but really 4 of his last 7 against the Phillies. So the Phillies, one of those things where they bring all sorts of pitchers to you. They're one of those teams that it's hard to predict what it's going to be like facing them, because they just look so much different on a given day. You know, when Zach Wheeler pitches versus their bottom of the line guys, that's one of those things that makes it tough to put a bet on this against Philadelphia. But Shohei Ohtani, we are confident in this one. He is facing a struggling rookie pitcher. His name is Andrew Painter. He was a former 1st-round pick in 2021, just getting adapted to the major leagues. So even 1st-round picks, sometimes they need some time to really develop in the major leagues. I'm a Diamondbacks fan, and you remember Max Scherzer. He did not dominate right away, even though he showed promise. Andrew Painter needs his time to adapt to the majors. God knows if he'll throw really good stuff to Shohei Ohtani. But either way, even if he gets like 2 or 3 walks, expect that his teammates could drive him in. But with that being said, expect that he's going to do well today against Andrew Painter, as he typically does against right-handed pitching. He is very consistent against both left and right-handed pitching throughout the season. That's one of those things that, as a hitter, when you're consistent against right and left-handed pitching, that usually means that a lot of picks, a lot of props are going to be quite reliable, and that's something we see from Shohei Ohtani. He also does better. He's also better on the road. I wrote that wrong there on the headline. He's better on the road. So they are in Philadelphia. He does have a 259 average on the road versus 214 at home. So he is significantly better there. Even though on base percentage, you can see he does get quite a bit of walks at home comparatively to the road. But obviously getting a hit can give him that hit prop, and we do want to look at batting average in that regard. Shohei Ohtani over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI on Sunday afternoon in Philadelphia. We got Zebby Matthews. He is a pitcher for the Twins who we've seen not the biggest sample size from this year. He's been one of those on and off guys. He's sometimes struggles with his command, but there's one thing that you do see is that he is able to strike out batters at a high rate. That is if he can stay in the game. That is if he can command his pitches. We're expecting him to go over 5.5 strikeouts here today. He's done that in 4 out of 10. You can see he's come very close. He has come very close to that. And usually those games that he doesn't hit, I'm going to go through in the next slide, he's usually only pitching 3-4 innings. When he can get at least 5 innings in, or 6 innings, or get into the 6th inning, he easily gets 6 strikeouts. And he's done that in 4 of those 10 games. So he's very consistent in his strikeout rate. And in his last couple games period, here in the current season, he's gotten 6 strikeouts. So again, not really any point in showing you a last 20 game chart if he's been on and off sporadically both between the the injured list and also the minor leagues. But Zebby Matthews last season, you look at 16 games last season, he has done it in 8 out of 16. So again, very consistent pitcher. But also looking at the fact that in 79 innings, he has struck out 88 batters. So you can see that if you were looking at that for last year in 16 starts, he's averaging just under 5 innings a start. So 16 times 5 is 80. So he averages just under 5 innings a start, but he'll strike out more than 5 batters a start. So that's one of those things that they just need Zebby for this prop right here. If he can just get through 5 innings, there's a strong likelihood that he is going to get 6 or more strikeouts. So that's why we're very confident in this prop. Zebby Matthews has been able to do that in his last couple games. We expect that to be the case today. Let's get to our reigning American League Rookie of the Year, Nick Kurtz from the Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics, not the Las Vegas, Sacramento Athletics, just call them the Athletics. Nick Kurtz is finally starting to catch some heat here in this campaign. He usually gets off to pretty slow starts. He got off to a pretty slow start in his major league career, but he really heated up last summer. And now that we're getting into June, we expect Nick Kurtz to heat up. We expect that the Athletics, given that they're in contention in the division, to really get some good baseball in, to really get some runners on base, and help Nick Kurtz get an RBI here today. He's done that in 5 of his last 10 games. You can see that there was a 5-game streak of him not getting any RBI before. That was actually Friday. I did have to upload those charts before yesterday. So really you can look at 6 of the past 11. You can also look at 11 of the past 21. And you can also look at, in the games against the team, 5 out of the last 7. So actually a pretty solid recent trend here. And we look at it, in the Yankees games here. We look at 2 of the last 4 versus the starting pitcher, but also he is a much better hitter in the day games. I mean, this disparity in batting average and on-base percentage is absolutely incredible. 343 average and a 526 on-base percentage in day games. And you contrast that to 237, 367 at night. That is a night and day contrast to how much better Nick Kurtz hits in the day games. That being said, we also got our 2 paid picks on Winible. That link is in the description. You can also access the analyses to these free picks via Winible as well. Keep in mind, you also get the written version of that here. You also get the written version on social media as well. That being said, that is a wrap. We will have a baseball video again tomorrow as the NBA action is slowing down in frequency. The NBA finals do not start until Wednesday. We also got a 2-week hiatus until the World Cup, and obviously we're not in football season. So do expect that we are going to have some baseball here tomorrow. Expect that we're going to go through these picks and bring you, looks like 2 free picks, just because on Monday we don't